Hello and welcome back to my channel. Now, if you're new here, I talk about health, fitness, and things that I just do in my own life that I really enjoy. And so, if you're here from Instagram or TikTok, where I talk about health and fitness tips every single day, welcome. I'm going to be going much more in depth over on this YouTube channel. And if you're just here for fun and you found me on the YouTube feed, welcome. Everyone's welcome here. And I just hope you listen to what I've got to say, intake what my experience of life has been like. And if any of that helps you, then brilliant. Because everything I put out is just my first person experience, from what I do in the gym to the health and fitness routines that I follow. It's all kind of helped me, and I will never share anything that hasn't directly helped me. And whether it's relevant for you or not, who knows? But maybe you'll learn something. Maybe you'll disagree with me. If you disagree with me, leave a comment, because I always learn the most when I'm talking to people who I don't necessarily see eye to eye to, but also people from different backgrounds. And I think so much of what YouTube is people sharing their insights from different childhoods and different backgrounds, which is a brilliant way to learn. And so drop a comment, DM me on Instagram if you want to. But overall, I hope this channel helps you to learn what I'm about, and hopefully there's something interesting here for everyone. So today I'm going to talk about my journey to becoming an Ironman. Now, throughout my childhood, I was always very ambitious, and I always had dreams of becoming a professional athlete. From the age of 7, I really wanted to become a professional tennis player. Then I went through life and became quite good at cricket at an amateur level. And then I really dived into golf, where I had ambitions, or where I really had a vision that I wanted to be pretty good at golf. But I'm not a professional athlete. I don't get paid for sports. I don't get paid to be a fitness person. I just really enjoy it. So my day-to-day life for a long, long time has been built around going to the gym, built around doing sports. And about 2 years ago, I said to myself that I wanted to take on a huge physical challenge that I didn't necessarily know I was capable of doing, but I really wanted to attempt something. And I'd never done a triathlon. And I think this may be the same as you. Ironman is a brilliant brand around the world, and it's known as this crazy fitness challenge. So I dived into training for my first Ironman 70.3. So I'm going to talk through the things that I did to train for that 70.3 as someone with no background in swimming, running, or cycling. And hopefully that's helpful for you. So to start off with, I've always been sporty, and I've always been coached around visualization. And this is tip number one. When I embarked on this journey of becoming an Ironman athlete, I really had to set myself up with a vision in my mind of what it would feel like if I completed the Ironman. Because if you can visualize something and you can visualize the end point, your brain has a much better ability of motivating itself, and it can learn very quickly what you want to achieve. And when your brain learns what you want to achieve, it's going to help you get there, because it can establish very positive thoughts in your mind, or it can do the opposite. If you're terrified of something, it can establish very negative thoughts in your mind. But this is the first thing I did, is I really ingrained a vision in my mind of what it would look like and what it would feel like when I crossed that finish line. And that set myself up for great training sessions and a long old slog training, because I had this vision that I wanted to accomplish. Secondly, even though I had a very fit background, and at the time I was doing CrossFit, that didn't really translate into being able to cycle properly, definitely didn't translate into becoming a long distance runner. And so I had to learn from scratch. And so I did a few things here. One is I hired a coach. I knew that the number one thing that would stop me from completing this goal was injury. And so I DM'd lots of pros on Instagram who I knew had amateur training programs. Lucy Charles Barkley was one of them, and they have something called Team Charles Barkley. And so I DM'd Lucy and Reese, and I actually think I emailed Reese. It's hard for me to remember now, but I think I emailed Reese, and he came back to me and said, "We got one spot open." And I was like, fantastic. So they set me up with one of their coaches from Team Charles Barkley, which is their amateur training club. And I was being trained for 4 or 5 months by one of the coaches behind the scenes at Team Charles Barkley. And it was an incredible experience, because the individual who coached me, Pascal, he in his own right was a very, very good amateur triathlete and duathlete. And I think at the time, and still, he's European duathlon champion. And so to have someone like that coaching me was a huge asset, because it taught me how to ramp up my training. It taught me what my limits were. It taught me that we would be able to overcome some of the limits that I have. But fundamentally, I had absolute trust in this other person who is willing to help me. And yeah, help me because I was paying. But when you find a coach who really works hand in hand with you, I think they care about your performance. They certainly care about their own reputation, and they want to work with people who are going to work damn hard. And I think I tick those boxes. So I got a coach, and I would advise anyone to get a coach, whether it's a part-time situation or whether it's full-time on WhatsApp or whether you follow an online training plan. It doesn't matter. Do what you're capable of doing in terms of hiring someone to help you along the way. The third thing I did was I really doubled down with strength training. Now, about 1 month into my training, so I started this crazy vision in December of 2021. January of 2022, I started to swim properly. And within 3 weeks, I'd injured my knee. Not a serious injury. I started getting swimmer's knee, which if you've ever had tennis elbow is very, very similar. So the ligaments and the tendons start playing up, and it was very, very painful because I'd kind of gone from zero to swimming 30, 40 lengths. And that really did put me on a path to getting injured properly. So I really doubled down on strength training. And a lot of triathletes don't like spending a lot of time in the gym, certainly amateur triathletes. But one of the things I've learned from all professional athletes that I've known and follow is the amount of time they spend in the gym is not about lifting heavy weights. It's about conditioning your body. And so we've all heard this term called sports conditioning. And really what it means is setting your body up so that it's strong enough and resilient enough, is flexible enough to cope with the pressures of high intensity training. And so I've really doubled down on strength training. I'm quite muscular for my height, and definitely for a lot of runners. And I actually think it's one of my biggest assets because I have more muscle than the average long distance runner. I think my body's able to sustain a lot more stress than if I was skinnier. If I had less muscle on my body, for me, that doesn't work. I know a lot of people who are leaner than I am, and they're fantastic runners and fantastic cyclists. But the physique that I had, I made it work for me. And I emotionally feel much stronger when I've done some heavy lifting sessions, whether that's true or not from a physiological perspective. So much of an Ironman is your mental stability and your mental state. And so you really have to enter that race and you have to do your training when you're in a good mental frame. And so if you feel great, you're going to perform better, whether that's in the high intensity training sessions or whether it's in the race. And so it's one of the things I advise anybody else who asks me about completing their first Ironman or Ironman 70.3 is feel comfortable, because there's nothing worse than getting to race day or doing some of the big training sessions. And, I was doing 14 sessions a week, which maths, you're doing two a week. And normally on Sunday, it would be one session, which is for me at the time, my peak sessions were 3 or 4 hours cycling on a Sunday. And my biggest session was a Saturday where I did 2 brick sessions. So this is where I cycled for an hour, give or take, on Zwift, then did a 5K run, then jumped back on Zwift, did another 5K run. I remember that and thinking, blooming heck, this is hard, because you come off the bike and you're super sweaty. But I was comfortable. All my gear was set up great for me. That meant I didn't get injured during the whole training session. When it came to race day, I got injured. Something happened with my back. I've always had a dodgy back from doing years and years of cricket and tennis. And so my whole body is tuned to turn right. I'm right-handed and I play tennis and cricket. And so if you have those sports in your weekly routine, you'll know that your body does a lot of this. And that has led to a lot of lower back problems that kind of have surfaced when I've put high intensity sessions in going uphill on a bike. I think I strain my back a lot. I pull up on the handlebars, and that led to a lot of issues. But during my training, I had no issues. And I put it down to my strength training. So please don't ignore it. Depending on your background, the type of coach that you hire, the training plan that you follow, often there won't be a lot of strength training involved. But I work with my coach hand in hand to say, hey, coach, I feel great when I do more strength sessions. And so we just built it into the program. Normally, why when you're training for a triathlon, you don't want to do many strength sessions is because you have to do so much mileage to build up your aerobic base. You're not getting much out of the gym because in the same hour and a half you could be at the gym, you could be doing a zone 2 cycling session or an interval cycling session that's going to really build up your aerobic capacity and your ability to do high heart rate sessions or reach a high heart rate very, very quickly. And so you can get more efficient, longer miles under your belt by doing cycling and running sessions instead of heading to the gym. But I put comfort before all of that. And that's the number one thing for me. So if you feel stronger, and you feel stronger because you're going to the gym a lot, continue to go to the gym a lot. At the end of the day, these big fitness challenges should be, and this is my final point, these big fitness challenges should be fun. I put myself under a lot of pressure. That's how I've always operated. But it's 100% true. And I can really vouch for this, that if you enjoy it, you're going to find it more enjoyable to wake up for the hard training sessions, and you're more likely to put in effort. Now, putting in effort is a combination of enjoying it plus having a big vision that you want to achieve. But if you do enjoy it, you're more likely to do something. So this is the final tip. Go in and enjoy it. And couple that with enjoyment doesn't have to mean every single moment you love it. You know, the 6 a.m. swim sessions or earlier, depending on your lifestyle, are not fun. You know, even the top swimmers that I know who have swam 5 days a week all throughout their childhood, they don't necessarily enjoy getting up at 4:30 in the morning and going onwards to train that much. But they do it because they want the end result. They do it because they, you know, out of all the things you could do in the world, doing fitness is a pretty good thing to be able to do. And so it is a massive thing that you're going to enjoy it because it's better than 99% of the other things you could be doing in the world. But you're not going to enjoy every single session. But if you have this big vision at the end, you are going to enjoy it more because you want that big vision at the end. And the last thing is, don't put too much pressure on yourself. I do. But when you turn up to one of these big events, so I did Ironman Weymouth 70.3, which Weymouth is in the south west of England. It's a small seaside village, and the whole town comes out to support everyone doing it. And when I did it, there were 2,500 people scheduled to do the race. And I remember the day before the race, I spoke to a cafe owner, went in for a coffee and a flapjack, and I forget the name of the cafe. Really lovely guy, and they were just amazed at anybody who wanted to even do an Ironman. And so I remember the day before the race, I was obviously very, I would say, nervous, and had big expectations of myself. But hearing random people say, well done for just training and well done for showing up is something that really rang true in the moment. And I was able to just soak in a lot of the day. Sure, I was nervous. I wasn't that, comfortable doing the ocean swim. I was terrified of the ocean. But something about having people around you saying, just enjoy it, you're impressive for just showing up, was almost felt like a massive burden being lifted off my shoulders. And so remember that. Anybody there watching you thinks you're impressive for even showing up, and you are impressive for showing up. And I go one step further for, if you're even training, the amount of hours that you need to do to take an Ironman seriously to avoid injury, it is a huge undertaking that you should be proud of for even just training. So that's my experience training for my Ironman 70.3. And I'm going to do a ton more videos on my experience, what training I love, what fitness routines I maintained and started, what nutrition tips I took. For example, I use a Super Sapiens glucose tracker. I really took things seriously, and I learned a lot about myself. And so I'm going to be sharing all of that in this channel. And remember, health and fitness is just my passion. I'm not paid to do this. I enjoy sharing my thoughts. If you're on Instagram or you haven't seen me on Instagram, I share a lot of this type of information in short form. My top 5 tips for being motivated, the top 7 nutrition tips that I've learned. I go into all that detail, and the same on TikTok. So send me a DM over there. It's a lot easier to communicate on Instagram, or drop me a comment down here, or drop a comment down here, and I will get back to it 100%. Like, comment, and subscribe. About 90% of people who watch these videos don't subscribe. And that's the same for huge channels, from the Diary of the CEO to Lionel Sanders' YouTube channel. And so any follow, anyone who creates content, every single follow you get, it's like amazing. Thank you so much, because this is meant to help in some sort of format. So if you find this enjoyable, leave a comment, drop a like, follow, and then YouTube will know who to put this content in front of. So thank you in advance. And I hope to see you back here soon for another video. Until then, train hard and see you later.